First things first, you should probably know, if you don't already, that I am a huge Stranger Things fan. I love the show. I truly think it is one of the best television shows to be made in the history of time. It has some of the most well done character transformations, some of the best done story arcs. I just think that it is basically as close to modern television perfection as you're going to get. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And that's exactly why I decided to pick this up and was extremely excited about it. The first Stranger Things novel, Suspicious Minds, written by Gwenda Bond and released by Random House, who did gift me this for review. And if you're ever wondering if my reviews are honest, which I don't know why you would wonder that because I'm pretty harsh sometimes, this is evidence of that. I love Random House. I love working with them, but that doesn't mean that if I don't like a book, I'm not going to tell you I don't like it. So if you just want to know the short story, don't like it, don't recommend it, hate it, but here's why. I don't even want... Okay. Alright, let's just do it. You know? I need to vent. When you get a book like this, you are expecting and hoping that the work itself will be building upon the already existing world, that it's going to add something to it, that you're going to get more of a backstory, that you're going to get to connect with characters that maybe don't get as much screen time. Basically, you just want it to add on to the world. You want it to be canon. You want it to make sense with the overall structure of a fictional world that is pre-existing to the published work, right? Fair assumption. I think that's pretty much what everyone hopes when they get something like this. If the goal is to add on to the world, I do not think that Suspicious Minds accomplished that at all. And in fact, I think it might have taken something away from it. I ended it thinking that I wish I hadn't ever read it, and I'm going to do my best to forget that it ever happened, because I think it managed to take something away from the Stranger Things world, which I adore and love so much, instead of adding to it and making me more excited about it. If that wasn't clear enough for you, I do not at all recommend this book. That's a straight up warning from one Stranger Things fan to another. Just don't bother. Don't do it. You can read the behind the scenes companion guide, and which I did read, and it was really fun and enjoyable, but other than that, I should have been a good, patient little nerd and just waited for season 3 like everybody else and not tried to dive into this, in my opinion, complete failure of a book. When I write reviews, I usually write a lot of notes in my phone, so I'm just gonna go through the list because I have a lot of thoughts, and I think that's the only way I can really get through this and vent and say all that I need to say and then be done with it. The first thing that I noticed about this was that the writing style was extremely elementary. Gwenda Bond is a YA author. Now, that in itself, interesting choice. Let me ask you this because I'm seriously curious. Who do you think that the target audience for Stranger Things as a show and as a universe is? Is it kids? Is it people my age that are like in their 20s, early 30s? Or is it people that are like way later in life? Seriously, I'm questioning that. I mean, I think a lot of people watch this show, but I would be really curious to know who the actual base fan group is. Like, what's their age range? Because it seems like they could not make a decision when they made this book. And I think that's a huge problem with any project. You have to determine who you're writing it for or who you're creating any product for in order for it to be successful. I felt like this book was trying to be everything for everyone, and in doing so, just managed to be nothing for no one. The writing style is so incredibly simple that it's actually harder for me to read. It's like a middle grade reader writing style, but without all the middle grade fun. Also, there's not middle grade themes going on in this. This is no Percy Jackson. This is no Artemis Fowl, okay? Those things have darker values and darker elements to them, but they're not Stranger Things, which the entire creation of which was heavily inspired by early Stephen King novels and a bunch of horror films. So who do you think is watching early horror movies, and who do you think is a dedicated fan of early Stephen King? I really don't think it's middle grade readers. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So when you write a book like this one, designed to enhance a very dark world, sure, there's 4 kids at the center of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not an extremely dark, to some people say it's too scary, not for me, but you know what I'm saying, world, you know? So taking that world and that concept and taking everything it's built on, which is very dark themes, and then you put it in a book, but you write it with a middle grade style, where you're kind of keeping it really simple and almost PG, but you're writing about topics that are anything but. These are MK Ultra experiments, an incredibly strange, twisted time in history where morality was put on the back burner for science. That's a dark topic, okay? I gotta calm myself down because I already feel myself getting a little intense. I guess at its base, what I'm trying to say is that I'm very surprised at both the author they chose to complete this work, a YA children's lit author, and I'm confused by the style they chose to write it in. These are dark topics. The audience for Stranger Things are mostly adults. Why would you not write a story and a book that was as complex and visionary and atmospheric as the Stranger Things peak TV series? I just don't understand. There's an incredible disconnect there. And I really wonder if it's because whoever was on the board for creating this book wanted it to be approachable to everyone. Maybe they misunderstood, I don't know, the point of this book. I'm really questioning how much the Duffer Brothers were involved in this at all. I'm really curious about the licensing agreement. The copyright in the back of the book says Netflix. So I haven't been able to find anything on the internet about the Duffer Brothers' involvement with this, but if you know of anything, let me know because I'm sincerely curious, and I would be very surprised if they read this and were okay with it. I mean, if they were, I'm shocked. I'm shocked by that because these guys are very well read. A lot of what they do is based on darker things, and I'm just confused. I'm just confused. I don't know what to do. Help me. But it's not even that the writing style itself would have been good as a middle grade book, truly. It has one of my biggest pet peeves in writing, especially in simplistic writing, where they refuse to build atmosphere, they refuse to set a scene, yet they'll add the most ridiculous, pointless descriptors, like making sure they tell you what color someone's skirt is. Who freaking cares? The color of the skirt does not matter. It doesn't set the scene. It doesn't really help to the character, and it doesn't add anything to the setting. This is really hard for me to explain without like having a blackboard up and like comparing sentence structures with you, but I'm hoping that you know what I mean. I just think descriptions should be there 100%, but they should be there and serve to set a certain vibe and a certain world, and hopefully that would match with the Stranger Thing world that already exists, but in this book it doesn't. I'm gonna say something now that is gonna be hard to explain, and I really hope you don't take it the wrong way, but this was a huge issue for me as I started reading the novel and something that really let me down. So I hope you don't get offended by it, but if you do, please understand that you're probably taking what I'm saying on the wrong way. Anyway, let's get into it because I don't want to waste my time apologizing for something I don't need to apologize for. These are my thoughts. So let's get into it. An element of this writing style that really frustrated me was, of course, the lack of atmosphere, the lack of world building, the lack of character development, basically all the pieces that I feel make a novel complete. But what really irked me was this insertion of text about women and minorities in this book that I think was attempted to put in with good intentions. I think they meant to try to set the 1969 era in a certain way, but frankly, I think it achieved the opposite. This annoys the hell out of me. This is why when someone categorizes something as a diverse read, I don't read it. It's not because I have something against diverse reads, it's the opposite, but I feel lately with that being a really great movement to encourage more representation in books, why the hell would you not want more characters that more people can relate to? I don't know. But it seems like some people take these trends and these like buzzworthy aspects and then they just put them on a checklist as they're writing a book or making something creative, like make sure I have a person of color, make sure I have a gay guy, make sure I have women's rights thrust in there. But it doesn't actually make sense and it's not actually part of the story, and they waste time just telling you how it was instead of showing you so that you can in no way relate to this character or this character's struggles in the world they're trying to set. But can you give me a story? Can you give me an experience? Can you put the reader in a scenario in your fictional creation where we get to live that? If not, then what are you doing? I don't know. I really feel like it has the opposite effect when it's set up incorrectly, where I think they were trying to say great things about people making progress in 1969, but it just came off as like super forced and almost like from the outside looking in, and it just turned me off. I don't know. I just did not like it. I would rather get into a character in the nitty-gritty. I would rather just get to know their experience than just be told if you have breasts in 1969, it was harder for you. Like, I don't know. I truly just think life's hard for everyone, and what we're all looking for in our characters that we read in books is a way to relate to them. If they happen to be a woman and things happen to be harder for them during that time period, show that. Don't just tell me it. Am I making any sense? I feel like I'm getting on a tangent now, but basically my point is that it annoys me when authors, and I feel like this happens so much now in the last few years, they just insert things in. They just insert in these minority characters, but they end up making them like a checklist to tack off as they go through creating a book without actually creating a compelling character. To me, it makes them a caricature. It doesn't make them real. And that annoys me, and frankly, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it creates the opposite of what it's intended to do, which is to share those important stories. I don't know. I hope that made sense. It's really hard for me to explain what I'm trying to say. Anyways, let's move on to my other problems with the book. My God, I am on a rant. I really am. Someone stop me. If this novel was not for Stranger Things, there's no way in heck I would have finished it. I would have DNF'd it. It was an incredible struggle to get through. There's no atmosphere. There's no world building. There's no plot, really. The plot is so terrible. I promise you, whatever your own mind has invented or theorized about the Stranger Things world and the history of Eleven's mom and the history of the MKUltra experiments within this fictional world is going to be a bazillion times better than the entire plot of this 300-page novel. I promise. And that's a big reason why I'm saying don't read it, because whatever you're imagining is so much better than this. Nothing is really added. There's no new real background detail to dig into. There's nothing new. It's not adding anything to the world, really. And it takes so long for the novel to happen and for anything to really occur plot-wise that it makes you wonder what the point of the book even was. This book relied entirely too much on the world that already exists on television. They did not at all set it up with character development or world building, which is a complete letdown. I don't care if the world already exists. You still have to do the grunt work in the book to make that world real for the reader and not just a person watching the TV. I'm extremely disappointed in the lack of character development. I don't feel like I got to know any of the characters. I don't feel like I rooted for them or against them because they didn't connect to me in any way. Dr. Brenner was perhaps the only character that you feel a little bit of angst towards, and that's really only because of what you know about him from the television show. None of that's really set up in the book well at all. Another thing I think they tried to pull from the show is that they have these 4 test subjects going through the experience together, and I think we were supposed to feel some sort of camaraderie or friendship like we do for the young kids in the TV show. But the connection just isn't there, the friendship isn't there, and again, because there's no real development, you don't feel for any of them. You don't care, really, what happens to them, and you don't feel convinced by any of their time together. Real talk, if we haven't been doing enough of that already, it's my opinion that this book publication was simply a way to increase money made on this franchise. I don't think that they really went into this book trying to make it as great as it could have been. To me, it's an incredible opportunity missed. This book could have been amazing. It could have been dark, it could have been vivid, it could have been atmospheric, it could have been something we could have taken a plunge into and fully saturated ourselves in this world that we love so much as we wait for the next seasons to come out. It wasn't that at all. Complete letdown and an incredible disappointment for me as a huge Stranger Things fan. It's genius on the part of whoever holds the license and is whoever's getting all the funds for this, which I assume is Netflix. I'm honestly not quite sure. I'd really like to know more about that, but it's genius. It's the same reason that Hollywood makes terrible sequels or doesn't put as much effort or thought into their sequels. It doesn't matter if the sequel's good. They know that. It just matters if it's good enough to get by. It just matters if it's good enough because we already fell in love with the first installment, whatever that creation was. We already expect it or hope that it'll be as good as the first experience was. It never is, and we kind of know that going in, but the industry knows that we cannot help ourselves as a consumer. When we love a creation so much and we just want more of it, we will fall over ourselves to get a copy of this book, to get in the theater for a second movie release. And that is why there are like 5 Shrek movies. You know what I mean? It's just like, who needs that many Shrek movies? The first one's the best one and the rest are terrible. Everybody knows that, but it's just like a money grab. And they know that you'll keep coming. They know that if they make something really good the first time and they can set up a fan base to pull from, a dedicated fan base, then that fan base is going to continue to pay them for content on that original product. So it's genius on their part, and it's kind of dumb on our part, the consumer part, because we just go in with the hope, we don't really think about it. And that's my intention for this video, is just to say, unfortunately, this book, this creation, was not at all in line with my expectations for how fantastic the Stranger Things franchise is otherwise. So don't fall into that consumer trap where you think that it's going to be good because you love another part of it. It's not the same. It's not even a fraction of what the show is. So that's just like my warning for you in this video. Like, please don't buy it. I don't at all recommend that you buy this book. Just wait for July 4th like me for the next season. So I've gotten that off my chest. I've had my vent session. Thank you for coming along with me and allowing me to just put that out there and be done with it. I'm now going to do my best to pretend this book never happened and just wait for the next season of Stranger Things and be just as excited as I would have been otherwise. I think it's best that I pretend I never read it because I don't think it added anything to the world, and if anything, it took something away. This book was extremely difficult for me to get through and an incredible disappointment to me as a reader looking for a deep dive into a world that I already love and admire so much. My advice to you is just to think your own thoughts, form your own theories about the Stranger Things backstory. Allow your own mind to fill in those gaps however you want to. I promise you that your imagination is going to be better than the plot of this book. So that's really it. I don't think there's anything more to say. If you want to talk about this book with me in the comments, I'm glad to, but otherwise my advice is just don't buy it. Thanks so much for watching this video and being here with me, letting me vent and just sort of get this off my chest. If it wasn't for you guys, I might go insane because there's just so many thoughts and feelings I have being a part of this incredible fandom that's a huge relevant audience of the modern day and era. To me, Stranger Things is peak TV history, and I love being a part of that fandom. So please do, like, you know, drop a line, let's chat about our favorite character, fake fight about it, you know, and move on with our lives into the Stranger Things world we love. If you like this video, do me a favor before you hop off and just give it a quick thumbs up. I'd so appreciate it. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, but you like all things bookish, all things nerdy, you like TBRs, hauls, reviews, all that good stuff, then I'm your girl. So go ahead and press that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.